I was not aware that it would bring so much deliverance and freedom and break the bondage of isolation within my community and women around the world. Hey y'all, Belinda here, your host, with another episode from Rooted, the story behind A Rose in Bloom. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about how the podcast actually is a ministry, okay? Not what I expected it to be, but I think God's blown my mind with the podcast and how it's grown and where it's going. And so, yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about the vision behind it and where we're going next. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so obviously we know that the podcast was the first step, right? February 2023 is when we hit record and we have grown to where we're at now. But I'll be honest and say, when I heard the vision for this in 2017, I never thought that it would be a ministry. I really never thought that I'd be in ministry like this, okay? Because even though I knew I was called to something, I didn't know it'd be called to this. If anybody knows my actual background, Belinda wants to be a lawyer, okay? And she will be, point blank period. But right now, God has me focusing on growing A Rose in Bloom, and the podcast was the first step. Now, again, I was not aware it was a ministry. I was kind of just like, everybody and their mama do podcasts now. I'm going to just be, in front of a camera talking about the things that I'm going through and being real and authentic through that. And hopefully it helps other women. But I was not aware that it would bring so much deliverance and freedom and break the bondage of isolation within my community and women around the world. Okay. I think it's wild, it's crazy, but it's also like, this is what God intended it to be, and it just speaks to what happens when you just put your head down and you're just obedient to the Lord and let him move in the way that he wants to move. Because again, prior to all this, when I thought of ministry, I thought of pulpit ministry, right? And I was like, Lord, I don't think you've called me to be a pastor. Okay. Little did I know that ministry looks different. It doesn't have to look the way that we thought it would look like the pulpit or being a pastor. It can be in different senses like this, right? Because at the end of the day, when I look at ministry now and ministering, everybody's being ministered to, right? It just depends on what is ministering to you. And of course, with this podcast, we choose to do it in a godly way. There's always a godly lens to the things that we do because the goal is to create community, make sure that women are telling their real authentic stories and amplifying their voices. And that could be a ministry in its own. And so I'm just very thankful for what God has done with the podcast. And it's not going away, right? Even though we are growing beyond the podcast is still going to be here. It's still going to feature some amazing women. You're still going to be hearing from me. We're still going to be talking about our authentic stories. And the goal will always be to be a platform and a space where women's voices are amplified, point blank, period. That is not changing, but it's just a matter of knowing that there are going to be other things alongside it. So super excited for all that's to come with the podcast. When I think of some of my favorite stories and things that have come out of A Rose in Bloom, the podcast, I just have so many that I can share, but I feel like the one that really even comes to mind right now is my episode with Myra, because I don't know, that just changed a lot of things for my mindset. Whether it was seeing myself as an actual creative, seeing myself in this space of being a creative or like influencing, right? I was going to say I don't see myself as an influencer, but everybody's influenced by somebody. Okay. So I guess I'm an influencer. But seeing myself in that space, growing alongside other women and just like being bold about this vision and calling that the Lord's given me. I think Myra's episode was one of the first where it was like, oh no, Lord, like you've called me to this and I am doing this. And I think also that moment stands out to me because earlier that year, I was kind of having some sort of a battle between, Lord, should I go to Rose and Bloom or should I go to law school? Because I know at the end of the day you've called me to both, and really deciding to put law school on the shelf and moving full force and forward with this vision that the Lord's given me. And even looking back, I do not regret a thing. It was hard in the moment, in the time, to put that on the shelf because that's something that I wanted since I was 10. But the Lord's shown me since then that I just need to be obedient to him, and he uses everything, right? Even for things to be changing in my life in that space as well. So the podcast has been amazing. It's been such a blessing, I know, to me, to the team, and I know for you all as well. So as we are wrapping up this episode, I ask you to go into our comments, into our YouTube, or send us a note on our website about how the podcast has helped you in any way, because I love hearing stories like that and how the Lord is moving through this thing that I thought was just going to be so little, that I thought was just going to be me sitting in front of a camera and speaking. So yeah, that is the pillar of podcasting. Like I said, it's not going away. It's still staying here. We are just expanding and growing, but this will still be a priority. I promise y'all. So thank you all so much for joining me on this episode where we talked about the podcast as a ministry, kind of my heart behind it and what's to come with it. If you want more information on new episodes dropping or where we're going as a podcast, feel free to subscribe to our newsletter and check out our website, because we'll have all that information there. So until next time, continue blooming into the roses God's called you to be. You're listening to a Rose and Bloom podcast, a production of A Rose and Bloom, where women's stories bloom in Christ. Thanks for watching. See you next time.